Hello there, I go by Starbuck in most places and I stream Mass Effect on Twitch. I should mention that I don't normally make pre-recorded content, which might be obvious, but I wanted to make a video on Anthem as a kind of clearly defined piece of content that I can refer to later, so here we go. I'll introduce myself first, then talk about some hopes, worries, and general thoughts I have about Anthem at this stage. So the gameplay footage you'll see in the background is the theater demo teased in the live-streamed press conference and shown in full to select press at EA Play about a month ago. I was not actually present there, although I do have some hands-on experience due to having tested the game earlier this year. I'll give the cutscene some space before I continue.
Now a second caravan's been hit.
Another one? Contract's getting fun now.
You have the strangest sense of fun.
You guys starting without me?
Freelancer, time to get to work. Faye said these bastards made some kind of acid. They're using it as a weapon. Melted a couple of supply caravans.
Scar's taking down whole caravans. Damn.
I know. Should make this a challenge, huh?
I like a challenge.
Who gets cypher duty?
The chair's all yours.
Yes! So, find where they're making this garbage and shut it all down. Piece of cake, right?
As I touched upon at the start, I've been all about Mass Effect for the past 5 years. I fell in love with the trilogy back in 2013 and have since spent most of my online community efforts contributing to the Mass Effect wiki and, since late 2014, live streaming on Twitch. While it was the world and story that hooked me on the series, it was Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, my first online multiplayer experience, that really sparked my interest in combat, made me seek out other players, and ultimately inspired me to start streaming myself. In 2016, having built up a small but dedicated audience, I was approached by BioWare to fly over and playtest Mass Effect Andromeda during the year leading up to its release, which was a fantastic experience in and of itself, and a story for another video. I remain a part of EA's Game Changer program, however, and have been doing the same thing for Anthem. My role as a Game Changer means I get to express my thoughts and feedback directly to the developers well ahead of time, mostly from my own perspective, but also on behalf of the player communities I'm in touch with. As such, don't hesitate to stop by my Twitch channel and say hello, especially if you like discussing games, media, the industry, and so forth. With that out of the way, let's move on to the main topic, Anthem. Now, I haven't seen many people use the buzz phrase Destiny clone and actually have much interest in having a sincere conversation about what Anthem might or might not be, but just for the record, I'd like to spend a little bit of time comparing the two directly. Drawing parallels to existing games can be natural and often useful, but I honestly don't think BioWare's Destiny does a great job of describing what Anthem is trying to be, nor does it set the right kind of expectations for it, I think. It's also a bit unfair, since Anthem's core idea has been, or had been shaped years before Destiny first came out. Shooting and looting is certainly at the heart of both titles' gameplay, but that can well be where the similarities end. In Anthem, you'll never have more than 4 players in one space. The 4 javelins, with more to come, work differently than having several characters of different classes. There's no weekly milestone cycle or huge content drops a couple of times a year. The world is going to be more dynamic in how its conditions change, how it affects your equipment, and so forth. Don't get me wrong, I like Destiny a lot. After Mass Effect Andromeda didn't work out for me, also a topic for another video, Destiny 2's timely release did fill my game void for a time, and continues to do so, to a certain extent. But I can't say I'm truly crazy about Destiny. I admire certain things it does, and I'm certainly getting my money's worth of entertainment out of it. I love how it looks, sounds, feels, but as a single or at least PvE player at heart, the activities are just too repetitive to keep me continuously engaged once I've reached the max level and completed other unique pursuits. In short, I'm still looking for a game to become truly obsessed with. A game marriage, if you will. So far, it's sounding like Anthem could take most, if not all, of Destiny's main shortcomings from my perspective, and do something that's different enough to steal over more story-oriented players like me. Couple that with ability combos and systems that are sure to take some hints from ME3MP, a brand new exciting game world that's not constrained by well-established franchises, Bioware quality characters and dialogue, and we should have the ingredients for the perfect adventure to co-op with friends for years to come, right?
Follow it. We should find the source.
Since most of what we know sounds great on paper, for me it really comes down to whether Anthem achieves its goals, whether it gets to be the game that it tries to be. I do have some concerns or other misgivings about that, so before I get into more of the things I'm looking forward to, here are my biggest worries. Clear number one, customization. Not in terms of how we can customize our combat abilities, that all sounds pretty promising, but purely in terms of looks. As someone who has never played a mech game, I'm just not sure I can become as attached to a set of mech suits as I can to more conventional clothing and armor. What can I say? I'm all about dressing my character up and feeling stylish. Granted, this concern is slightly alleviated by the fact that the Storm and even Interceptor look a bit more tolerable in the fashion department, but I'm still biting my nails a little bit on this one. Concern number two, also relating to vanity. We know that the third-person perspective is reserved for combat scenarios, when you're in your Javelin, whereas when you're exploring Fort Tarsis and interacting with NPCs outside of your Javelin, it's from a first-person perspective. I don't want to shoot down this design choice before I can see it in action, but I can't help but wonder, when do I get to see my character? It's possible that I'll be perfectly happy to have a mostly faceless pilot, and that I'll only really be concerned with how my Javelin looks, but part of me is a bit sad we might not get to see our character in casual settings. Number 3. Combat. Will it feel too much like Mass Effect Andromeda? There's a good chance you'll disagree with me on this, but I actually thought MEA's gameplay was a step back from ME3 in many ways, even ME2. So I hope that Anthem ends up feeling clearly better. The enemies, gunplay, movement, everything really. Lastly, a concern that relates to external factors rather than the game itself. Communication. About changes, plans, reaction to feedback. With a live game, I really think you need outward communication and interaction with players to run smoothly. And let's face it, it's not exactly something EA is famous for. I also think BioWare has a long way to go in that department. The official forums were shut down last year, leaving the support very fragmented. Read the blog for patch notes, know which developer to follow on Twitter, and use EA support for most game technical issues. A centralized hub for community interaction may demand a lot of resources, but I don't see how you're going to maintain a healthy relationship with your player base and make good and informed development decisions without it. I have been involved in EA influencer events, however, and I really think EA can learn from its mistakes and is already taking steps in the right direction. So I hope this can be seen in how Anthem is managed. Anthem does have an outwardly visible community lead already, which has been nice to see. Speaking of nice, I'd like to round off this discussion with the main things I find promising, or at least intriguing. We already know that BioWare does traditional, fully contained stories really well, and they'll continue to make them. So I'm honestly intrigued to see something different from them. They've emphasized that they're trying something new in terms of the shared story experience. We all know how it feels to complete a fantastic Mass Effect or Dragon Age saga, and have that long wait for the next chapter. But in the best case scenario, Anthem could provide more of a balanced, continuous way to enjoy a narrative and the world it takes place in. I don't mean to say that's automatically going to result in an objectively higher quality experience, but I want to keep an open mind. I think the creators of the universes we love deserve that much. I'm also curious to see how the single multiplayer blend they're going for will work out. My biggest hope for Anthem is that I can log in alone and not have the enjoyment suffer too much. That doesn't mean I don't want to encounter random players or that every activity needs to be completable without communication. I just hope teamwork will be smooth even without it, and that opting for a more private session means I still can have a fulfilling experience. I hate to bring up Destiny again, but this is the main aspect I hope Anthem will do for me that Destiny can't. Give me a good enough reason to play, even if I'm just by myself. Finally, Anthem seems like it could be a wonderful game to create content around. All the new lore, the diversity of the javelins, the vast world, the different playstyles it enables. It all seems like excellent topics for debate. I've said it a million times on my channel. I'm aching for a new, robust game to engage me for years, and Anthem has some serious potential to deliver in that regard. Those of you who follow me already know that I don't really get hyped about games in advance, and I think Anthem will really be the type of game that requires quite a bit of playtime before you know how all the systems interact and whether you'll feel compelled to hop in and play on a daily basis. When the game launches, I'm certainly prepared to go all in and find out just that. To wrap up, I'm certainly hoping that Anthem will be a success, and at this point, I'm cautiously optimistic that it can be. What do you think? Comments are disabled on this video, but please feel free to tweet at me or stop by my Twitch channel and we'll discuss. There's a little bit more to the gameplay demo, but you can check that out on the official Anthem channel if you want. If you didn't happen to see how the demo ends yet, there's a bit of a boss fight at the end. But yeah, like I said, please feel free to stop by my channel. Thank you for watching, see you around, and take care.